欢迎来到职场达人英语学习节目，让我们开始学习吧。
What's your greatest strength?
你最大的优势是什么？
What's your greatest strength?
你最大的优势是什么？选择与职位相关的核心优势，提供具体例子证明，展示这一优势如何帮助你取得成就。
My greatest strength is my ability to translate complex technical concepts into practical solutions that bridge the gap between engineering possibilities and business needs. As a full-stack developer with product thinking, I've consistently identified opportunities where technology can solve real business problems. For example, at my current company, I noticed our customer service team was spending hours manually compiling reports from different systems. Rather than just suggesting process improvements, I developed a dashboard that automatically integrated these data sources. This required understanding both the business workflow and implementing complex data aggregation logic. The solution reduced report generation time from 15 hours to 30 minutes weekly and increased data accuracy by eliminating manual steps. This same pattern of identifying practical technical solutions to business challenges has been consistent throughout my career. Whether optimizing our CI/CD pipeline to reduce deployment time by 70% or redesigning our user authentication flow to reduce account-related support tickets by 35%. What makes this strength particularly valuable is that it exists at the intersection of technical expertise and business understanding, allowing me to not just build what's requested, but to help define what should be built based on both technical feasibility and business impact. What's your greatest weakness?
你最大的弱点是什么？
What's your greatest weakness?
你最大的弱点是什么？展示自我意识和成长意愿，描述一个真实但非致命的弱点，强调你为改进所采取的具体步骤。
My most significant development area has been balancing thoroughness with timely delivery when dealing with complex technical challenges. Early in my career, I sometimes fell into the trap of pursuing the perfect solution, which occasionally delayed project timelines. For example, 2 years ago, while building a distributed caching system, I spent extra time researching advanced consistency protocols when a simpler approach would have met our immediate needs. Recognizing this pattern, I've implemented several specific strategies to address it. First, I now explicitly define good enough criteria at the beginning of projects, establishing clear boundaries for initial implementation versus future optimization. Second, I've adopted a more iterative approach, focusing on delivering incremental value through minimum viable solutions that can be enhanced over time. Third, I've improved at communicating technical trade-offs to stakeholders, helping them understand the cost-benefit analysis of different implementation approaches. These practices have significantly improved my delivery consistency. In the past year, I've completed all projects on or ahead of schedule while maintaining high-quality standards. While I still value technical excellence and thoroughness, I've learned to better calibrate the appropriate depth based on business context and constraints, turning what was once a weakness into a more balanced approach to software development. Tell me about a time when you successfully learned a new skill or technology.
请描述一次你成功学习新技能或技术的经历。
Tell me about a time when you successfully learned a new skill or technology.
请描述一次你成功学习新技能或技术的经历。展示学习敏捷性和自驱能力，强调如何结构化学习过程，并将新知识应用于实际项目。
When our team decided to migrate our monolithic application to a microservices architecture using Kubernetes, I had limited experience with container orchestration situation. As a senior back-end developer, I needed to quickly develop expertise to lead the containerization of our authentication services task. Rather than learning in isolation, I developed a structured approach combining multiple learning strategies. I started with foundational concepts through official Kubernetes documentation and online courses, but quickly moved to practical application by setting up a local Kubernetes cluster and containerizing a simple service. To deepen my understanding, I joined a cross-company Kubernetes special interest group where I could learn from experienced practitioners. I identified specific knowledge gaps around networking and security, and found mentors who specialized in these areas. To solidify my learning, I created a series of increasingly complex proof of concepts that simulated our production requirements. When I encountered challenges with persistent storage configurations, I contributed to open source projects facing similar issues, which accelerated my learning through community feedback action. Within 2 months, I successfully designed and implemented the containerization strategy for our authentication services, which became the template for other teams. The migration reduced deployment time by 80% and improved our service reliability. I documented my learning process and technical decisions, creating resources that helped 5 other developers ramp up more quickly. I later organized internal workshops that accelerated our company-wide Kubernetes adoption. This experience reinforced my belief that effective learning requires a balance of theoretical understanding and practical application, and that teaching others is one of the best ways to solidify new knowledge. I've since applied this structured learning approach to master several other technologies, including service mesh architectures and GitOps workflows. Result. What is something you had to teach yourself?
有什么是你必须自学的？
What is something you had to teach yourself?
有什么是你必须自学的？描述自主学习和解决问题的能力，强调如何克服挑战，展示持续学习的态度。
When our company decided to implement a GraphQL API layer, none of our team members had prior experience with this technology situation. As the API team lead, I needed to quickly develop expertise to architect our GraphQL implementation and guide the team through the transition task. Taking ownership of this gap, I developed a comprehensive self-learning plan. First, I immersed myself in the core concepts through official documentation and several specialized courses, taking detailed notes on aspects relevant to our use case. To gain practical experience, I created a sandbox project that replicated a simplified version of our data model. I identified that authentication and performance optimization were particularly challenging areas, so I dedicated extra time to researching best practices and implementing various approaches. When I encountered conceptual hurdles around schema design, I reached out to the GraphQL community, participating in forums and virtual meetups. I also scheduled knowledge-sharing sessions with our Apollo vendor representative to learn from their implementation patterns. Rather than learning in isolation, I documented everything in a shared wiki and conducted weekly tech talks with our team to distribute knowledge as I acquired it action. Within 6 weeks, I had developed sufficient expertise to design our GraphQL schema architecture and create implementation guidelines that addressed our specific security and performance requirements. The API we built reduced front-end back-end data transfer by 60% and significantly accelerated front-end development by providing exactly the data each component needed. Beyond the technical implementation, I created a comprehensive internal learning path that helped our entire team transition to GraphQL development. The self-teaching methodology I developed, combining structured learning, practical application, community engagement, and knowledge sharing, has since become a pattern I've applied to learning other new technologies, including WebAssembly and edge computing frameworks. Result. What are you doing to improve yourself professionally?
你正在做什么来提升自己的专业能力？
What are you doing to improve yourself professionally?
你正在做什么来提升自己的专业能力？展示主动学习和职业发展规划，强调具体且有针对性的改进措施，突出对持续成长的承诺。
My professional development strategy operates on 3 parallel tracks: technical depth, leadership skills, and industry awareness. For technical depth, I'm currently focusing on advanced distributed systems concepts by taking Stanford's Distributed Systems online course and implementing the concepts in practical projects. I've set up a personal Kubernetes cluster where I experiment with different service mesh configurations and performance optimization techniques. To measure progress, I set quarterly learning goals with specific deliverables, such as implementing a custom Istio adapter last quarter. For leadership development, I'm working with a mentor from our principal engineering team who provides monthly feedback on my technical communication and influence skills. I'm also practicing these skills by leading our architecture review board and mentoring 2 junior developers. Additionally, I actively contribute to open source projects in the Kubernetes ecosystem, which exposes me to diverse technical perspectives and collaboration styles. To maintain industry awareness, I dedicate 3 hours weekly to research emerging technologies and architectural patterns, summarizing my findings in our team's knowledge base. I attend relevant conferences, most recently KubeCon, where I presented our approach to secure service-to-service communication. I also participate in a cross-company engineering leaders roundtable that meets monthly to discuss industry trends and challenges. These activities create a feedback loop. My practical leadership experience informs what technical skills I need to develop, while my technical learning enhances my ability to provide architectural guidance to the team. Tell me about a time you took initiative.
请描述一次你主动采取行动的经历。
Tell me about a time you took initiative.
请描述一次你主动采取行动的经历，展示积极主动和自我驱动的能力，强调如何识别机会并采取措施，推动实质性改进。
Last year, I noticed that our team was spending approximately 20% of our development time manually testing integration points between services, despite having unit tests with high coverage situation. As a senior developer without explicit testing responsibilities, I saw an opportunity to significantly improve our productivity and quality assurance task. Rather than just pointing out the problem, I took initiative by researching modern contract testing approaches and creating a proof of concept using PACT for consumer-driven contract testing. I spent personal time developing a small demonstration that showed how we could automatically verify service compatibility. To gain support, I compiled data on our current testing inefficiencies and prepared a presentation highlighting both the technical approach and potential business impact. I proactively scheduled a lunch and learn session for the engineering department, where I demonstrated the concept with real examples from our code base. Anticipating implementation challenges, I also drafted a phased adoption plan that allowed for incremental integration without disrupting current workflows. When some senior engineers expressed concerns about adding another tool to our ecosystem, I worked directly with them to address their specific objections and incorporated their feedback into the proposal action. After receiving approval to proceed, I led the implementation of the contract testing framework across our services, which reduced manual integration testing time by 70% and caught compatibility issues earlier in the development cycle. The initiative improved our deployment success rate from 82% to 94% and reduced the average time to release new features by 2 days. Beyond the immediate technical benefits, this project established a pattern of proactive quality improvements within our engineering culture. 3 other developers have since led similar initiatives in their areas. The CTO specifically mentioned this project during my performance review as an example of the proactive problem-solving the company values, leading to my promotion to principal engineer. This experience reinforced my belief that technical excellence requires not just responding to assigned tasks, but actively identifying and addressing systemic opportunities for improvement. Result. What's a significant accomplishment you've achieved outside of work school?
工作衰学校以外，你取得的重要成就是什么？
What's a significant accomplishment you've achieved outside of work school?
工作衰学校以外，你取得的重要成就是什么？选择展示与专业能力相关的软技能的个人成就，强调如何将这些技能转化为职业优势。
Outside of my professional work, one of my most significant accomplishments was developing an open-source accessibility toolkit for mobile web applications. This project began when my grandmother, who has visual impairments, struggled to use several common applications. Rather than just reporting issues, I saw an opportunity to create systematic solutions for developers. Over the course of 18 months, I researched accessibility standards, consulted with disability advocates, and iteratively built a library of components and testing tools specifically designed for mobile web applications. The project required me to learn advanced techniques in ARIA implementations and screen reader compatibility that weren't part of my day job. To grow the project's impact, I created comprehensive documentation and video tutorials demonstrating implementation patterns. I also established a contribution framework that welcomed developers of all experience levels, particularly those with disabilities who could provide first-hand perspectives. The toolkit has now been adopted by over 200 applications and has received contributions from 47 developers across 12 countries. While this accomplishment occurred outside my professional responsibilities, it developed skills directly relevant to my work, particularly around creating intuitive user experiences, building developer-friendly APIs, managing open-source collaboration, and understanding diverse user needs. The project taught me invaluable lessons about documentation quality, community management, and how to drive adoption of technical solutions. I've subsequently applied these skills to internal libraries and tooling at my company, where I've led efforts to improve our component library's usability and documentation. This experience demonstrated that pursuing passion projects not only creates positive social impact, but can significantly enhance professional capabilities in unexpected ways. Tell me about a time you disagreed with a professional or academic decision. What did you do?
请描述一次你不同意专业或学术决定的经历，你做了什么？
Tell me about a time you disagreed with a professional or academic decision. What did you do?
请描述一次你不同意专业或学术决定的经历，你做了什么？展示建设性意义和原则性立场的能力，强调如何在保持关系的同时有效表达不同意见。
During a critical architectural review, our team lead proposed switching our entire infrastructure to a new proprietary cloud platform that promised significant cost savings situation. As a senior engineer with extensive cloud experience, I had serious concerns about vendor lock-in and the hidden complexity of migrating our stateful services task. Rather than immediately opposing the decision, I first gathered comprehensive data on our current architecture and identified specific migration risks that hadn't been addressed. I found several case studies of companies that had faced significant challenges with similar migrations. Instead of raising my concerns in the large review meeting where they might seem like public criticism, I scheduled a private conversation with the team lead. During this discussion, I acknowledged the legitimate cost concerns driving the proposal, but presented specific technical risks, including data migration complexity, potential performance impacts, and long-term flexibility limitations. I suggested an alternative approach, a hybrid architecture that would allow us to leverage some cost benefits while maintaining critical flexibility. I supported this proposal with a detailed comparison analysis and a phased implementation plan that would test our assumptions with lower-risk services first action. After several follow-up discussions and a small proof-of-concept implementation, the team lead revised the proposal to adopt my hybrid approach. This resulted in achieving 70% of the projected cost savings while avoiding the most significant migration risks. The phased implementation validated our concerns, as we discovered several compatibility issues that would have been major problems in a complete migration. My approach of private data-driven discussion rather than public disagreement maintained a strong working relationship with the team lead, who later asked me to lead our cloud strategy team. This experience reinforced that effective disagreement requires thorough preparation, respect for others' perspectives, and proposing viable alternatives rather than simply identifying problems result. Describe a time when you found it difficult to work with someone who had a different personality or working style than your own.
描述一次你发现很难与性格或工作风格与你不同的人共事的经历。
Describe a time when you found it difficult to work with someone who had a different personality or working style than your own.
描述一次你发现很难与性格或工作风格与你不同的人共事的经历。展示适应不同工作风格的能力，强调如何弥合差距并建立有效的工作关系。
I was assigned to co-lead a major API modernization project with a colleague whose working style was dramatically different from mine. Situation. As an engineer who values detailed planning and documentation, I needed to collaborate effectively with someone who preferred rapid iteration and minimal documentation, while ensuring our project met both quality and timeline expectations. Task. Rather than trying to change my colleague or allowing friction to develop, I first invested time in understanding his perspective. Through one-on-one conversations, I learned he valued quick experimentation because it exposed unexpected requirements early, a valid concern given our project's complexity. Instead of insisting on my approach, I proposed a compromise. We would maintain my detailed planning for architecture and data flow decisions to ensure system integrity, while adopting his rapid prototyping approach for the interface design and developer experience aspects. I adjusted my communication style, creating visual diagrams rather than lengthy written specifications which better matched his visual thinking preference. For our team communications, we established a balanced approach. Quick daily updates complemented by weekly documentation sessions where we captured key decisions and learning. When conflicts arose around implementation choices, I suggested time-boxed experiments to evaluate approaches objectively rather than engaging in theoretical debates action. This adapted approach proved remarkably effective. We completed the API modernization ahead of schedule with excellent quality metrics. Our team surveys showed high satisfaction with the project process. Most importantly, our complementary styles ultimately created a better result than either approach alone would have achieved. The rapid prototyping helped us identify integration issues early, while the careful planning ensured we maintained backward compatibility and security requirements. My colleague and I have since become preferred collaborators, explicitly leveraging our different perspectives as an advantage. This experience significantly improved my adaptability and helped me recognize that different working styles aren't obstacles to overcome but potential assets when managed effectively. Result. Tell me about yourself and how you got to where you are today.
请介绍一下你自己，以及你是如何达到今天的位置的。
Tell me about yourself and how you got to where you are today.
请介绍一下你自己，以及你是如何达到今天的位置的。构建一个连贯的个人发展叙事，强调关键决策点和价值观，明确展示职业发展轨迹。
My journey as a software engineer has been shaped by a consistent thread of using technology to solve meaningful problems. I became fascinated with programming in high school when I built a simple inventory management system for my family's small business, which showed me how software could create immediate real-world impact. This experience motivated me to pursue a computer science degree with a specialization in distributed systems. During university, a pivotal moment came when I joined a research lab developing telehealth solutions for rural communities. This project ignited my passion for building resilient systems that serve critical needs, leading me to focus on back-end infrastructure and data engineering. After graduation, I joined a health tech startup where I led the development of their patient data platform. Over 3 years, I grew from an individual contributor to leading a team of 5 engineers, learning valuable lessons about balancing technical excellence with business requirements. This role taught me to think holistically about systems, considering not just code quality but also operational concerns, security implications, and user impact. Seeking to broaden my experience with large-scale systems, I then moved to my current role at a financial services company, where I've spent the last 4 years architecting and scaling our transaction processing platform. Here I've further developed my expertise in high-reliability systems while expanding into cloud-native architectures. Throughout this journey, I've been guided by 3 core principles focusing on user impact rather than technology for its own sake, embracing continuous learning, and believing that the best technical solutions emerge from diverse perspectives. These values have shaped my approach to both technical challenges and team leadership. Looking forward, I'm particularly excited about applying my experience to complex distributed systems challenges while helping to develop the next generation of technical leaders.
请关注我们的频道，获取更多精彩内容。